KCD is a massive game. You've got your immersive combat system, a variety of weapons. But what if we just didn't feel like dealing with any of that? Yo, dudettes, this is Ketchu, and today we'll figure out, can you beat Kingdom Come Deliverance with only your fists? Alternative title, can you beat Kingdom Come as a Pacifist? Pacifister? The rules are simple. No weapons, no killing. Just 2 fists and a dream. That's right, a double whammy challenge. My goal? Pacify the entire kingdom using the power of polite violence. Diplomacy, seasoned with knuckle sandwiches. Watermelons, bags of soil, mom's butt, dad's laps. I woke up reeking like regret and fermented wheat. Mom was already disappointed, which is impressive because I hadn't even left the bed yet. Daddy dearest gave me 3 sacred tasks. Buy some charcoal, grab a beer, and pick up a crossguard. Naturally, I immediately ignored all of that and became a freelance botanist instead. I picked flowers until my herbalism hit 10 and unlocked the leg day perk, meaning I got stronger by aggressively lunging at plants. The plentiful flora of the meadows became my physical trainer. Handling nettles like dumbbells made me resistant to nature's little toxins. I grabbed the botanist perk so I could sell my games for maximum profit. My plan was simple: economically cripple this entire town, one daisy at a time. At the tavern, Deutsch had some unpopular opinions on the political climate. The 3 stooges hovering nearby invited me to throw poop at its house together. I politely declined. Had some pressing matters involving squats in the cabbage patch. Lost reputation for that, by the way. Typical. Normies just don't respect the grind. My budding floral empire had one weakness: weight. So I waddled to the merchant, dumped my entire bouquet on the counter, and bought Savior Snaps, Skyrim potions, but for quantum tunneling. That's when I met my new nemesis, haggling. There were instructions right there on the screen, but I still couldn't tell if I was negotiating for or against myself. Somehow I kept making money anyway. Later, I found a guard just standing there, existing. Unacceptable. I'm so bad at everything that I failed to choke him out. Tried to explain my treason with reason. Landed me with a fist on my face. Second verse was the same as the first. Now I'm in jail, which was actually kinda nice. Got my own medieval steam sauna. Next, I tried gambling. No idea how it worked. Somehow fumbled my way to victory. Naturally, feeling cocky, I tried again. My opponent busted multiple times at the start, which amplified my smugness. I played it safe and lost anyway. I punched a tree out of frustration, despite having enough coin to fund a famine relief program. I confronted Kunesh for more cash, because he owes my papa, and I'm not spending my daisy dollars on chores. I approached the topic with the grace of a collapsing bookshelf. Negotiations broke down immediately. Out of sheer charity, he beat the stupid out of me. Like a good sore loser, I returned the favor, choked him out, looted his pockets, and robbed his house. Productive day. Because fooling around was still on the menu, I tried to level up my stealth more, but the stupid green goblin I picked as my target had a spidey sense. Ma! Ma! Kunes beat me up.
Ma? Ma! I'm hurt. Won't stop bleeding.
He actually sounded sillier than me, I can't believe it. With my pride and mighty battle scars kissed goodbye, I picked up the crossguard, raided our family home for food and valuables, traded my garbage for the charcoal, sold Kunesh's pants. I even tried to rob the tavern upstairs, but I lacked a lockpick. Despite a side quest of blood and tears, I never found one, so I strangled Kunesh again for good luck. At the tavern, while picking up cold ale for Papa, Bianca, my girlfriend, handed me 5 more Savior Snaps. Bless her heart, I hope she lives a long and healthy life. After a few failed attempts, I successfully choked out a guard, sold his weapons, kept the armor. Because how else am I supposed to remember Skalitz if I don't have a full set of guard armor? Riddle me that. Papa wouldn't accept my offerings until I trained in swordplay. Fine. Armed with a wooden stick, I don't think I landed a single hit. The Pacifister run lives on. Also, no, you can't choke out the instructor. I definitely tried. Thanks to some distractions, the beer got warm, and I had to go fetch another one. Frick you, Papa, I hate you. I wish you were never born. With the annoying chores behind me, we forged a sword I'll never use. I was deeply offended to find I wasn't even wearing my cool outfit. Then, the local lord showed up to inspect the blade he had ordered, and cutscene me swung it like a confused child holding a baguette. Typical. I believe, if I'm not immediately good at something, It's not worth doing. Then came Mr. Worldwide, turned the village into a barbecue pit. My parents got well done in. Mom got the Indian basket trick treatment, minus the basket. I'll rip off that stupid mustache and throw it on the roof for this. Mr. Pitbull. One thing about Henry, he's awful at following instructions. He's the kind of guy who'd fail a tutorial with subtitles on. And I was in control of him, so things were going great. Fleeing the village, I saw a woman under assault by some soldiers. Tried to lure them away like a hero. Then some sort of a menu popped up, and I tried to hop on a horse. And I died trying to figure out which button was. Oh lord, what's happening? Attempt 2? This time, I read the controls before attempting heroics. Look at me, learning. I'm not apologizing, society. Also, shout out to those brave soldiers for attacking unarmed peasants. Pathetic. Now, if you watch long enough, you'll see me using farm animals as punching bags. Anyway, I successfully escaped to the fort in Talmberg. Sir Chat treated my arrow wound via reverse acupuncture. Then I reported the entire apocalypse to Sir Divish. It took me around 4 hours in total to leave the tutorial village. Next objective, talk to Sir Bernard. Naturally, I did the exact opposite and broke into every room like a medieval raccoon hunting for shiny garbage. Unfortunately, everything good was locked behind my tragic lack of lockpicks. In a fit of pacifist passion, I tried to hug a guard into unconsciousness. He responded by introducing me to the jail and my old nemesis, the consequences of my actions. I knew I hadn't seen the last of them, but since I was technically a war hero, they let me go with a slap on the wrist and a very passive-aggressive pat on the back. That would have been fine if they hadn't confiscated the chamberbot I was using as a hat. I reloaded out of principle. Fun was still off the menu. Too many witnessing eyes with deeply rooted trust issues, so I settled for the next best thing. Raiding the kitchen. Even snatched duck drums right off the Lady of the Land's plate. Slurped from the communal stew pot like a man possessed. The cook didn't even blink. Peak hospitality. Before doing anything remotely productive, I did go around snooping again, looking for valuables. But my inventory was already overflowing with bread, pears, and guilt. No sense stealing more if I couldn't fence it. I'm so sneaky and subtle. Eventually, I caved and talked to Sir Bernard. He escorted me to the kitchen for more food. Legend. Then Lady Stephanie joined in, poured me wine, and gave me a bed instead of the compost pile Sir Bernard recommended. That night, she came to my room. Not like that. She wanted to trauma bond. Unfortunately, our conversation was about as fruitful as a rock farm, like talking to a wall most of the time. If she ever lets me near her again, I'd be so ready to awkwardly greet her and fail at a handshake. When she left, she took the food she brought with her. A subtle, devastating act of revenge for me hounding down her duck drums earlier. Well played. Then I had a PTSD flashback of the wasted years I was trapped in a time wound.
Henry, wake up. You don't want to miss this.
What is it? What's happening?
Come to the battlements. One of our patrols reported a company heading here from Skalitz.
Obviously, it was critical that I didn't waste any more time. So I snuck back to the kitchen, choked out the entire staff, gently tucked them in the pantry, and left them with questions they'd never find answers to. Snacks continued to mysteriously vanish around the fort. I picked the final offer perk so I could legally scam traders. Lady Stephanie had a neck made out of contracts and legal immunity, but the Chamberlain folded like brown toilet paper. I stole his cash and his books. My bag was bursting with garbage and regrets. After another round of culinary chokeholds, I finally reported to Sir Bernard. Turns out, the survivors from Skalitz used the storm as cover and escaped. Neat! A feelings quest popped up in my head, burying my dead parents. Lord Ratzik said no, I'd die. In fact, he told Sir Divis to lock me up if I tried. Aw, he cares. Bernard gave me a new job, patrol the battlements. Naturally, I detoured straight to the kitchen. Again, but the training dummies were doing this possessed sideways plank thing on the beds. I got spooked, didn't touch them, just turned around and walked away. So I just went to bed, defeated, but full. Beauty sleep was a distant dream this time too. Mr. Idiot knocked on the door to ask about the refugees and to possibly borrow some sugar. I hate this town. After that, I sold what I could to the local trader. Didn't make much of a dent in my inventory problems. Then I tried chatting with the cook again. She mentioned trading. I got socially anxious, so I panic bought a pancake and haggled over it like my life depended on it. I am the Father King. From there, I took a power nap, jumped on my horse, and defenestrated myself off the drawbridge and into freedom. Somehow, a guard stopped me with a conversation mid-gallop. I speeched him into submission, drove back to Trauma Town, and left my horse behind for no adequately explored reasons. It hurts my soul that I couldn't just strap all the stolen pretzels, blood coins, and peasant jerky onto my trusty furry Ford. A fellow looter was ransacking the leftovers. Not wishing to share or make friends, I took the scenic route, never missing a leg day, and attempted a surprise hug from behind. It failed, but somehow I still managed to beat the unholy snot out of him, without taking a scratch.
Leave me alone, please!
Oh wow, did I win that? Without clothes? As a man of peace, I begged for him to shut off and kindly donate his weapon to the orphanage of me. Thank you, sir. Goodbye. Well, that's worth money. Fueled by bloodlust and poverty, I lunged forward, immediately got lost, finessed myself into places I absolutely shouldn't have been, and got myself stuck into some kind of cursed watermill. Panic set in, confused, I began folding myself incorrectly in a bid for freedom. Strategy was abandoned in favor of wiggling violently. Eventually, I flopped my way onto the roofs, and like a discount gargoyle, gazed down at problems I wanted nothing to do with. Attempt number 2 at stealth, another flawless failure. My strategy of forcing myself on him with no room to breathe, overwhelming him with unwashed confidence worked wonders. I won again, but it wasn't as pretty. He got stuck in the rubble, and I had a field day over it. I took his weapon, and he used less unstuck. Goodbye, my son. Be free, and be less stupid. At that moment, I finally understood my father's disappointment. Down by the tavern, I found my girlfriend decorating the ground. She looked so peaceful. I took her ring to remember her by, and maybe pawn it off for booze money later. Eventually, I found my parents, right where I left them. Tried to borrow a shovel from the local grave gnome. He was being a twat. I told him to eat dirt about it and dug the grave. Just when I was having a moment, the greenskin interrupted me, and his boyfriend beat me up like a disobedient drum. Things looked bleak. Luckily, while Teresa appeared, she used a goat phrase which summoned the gods. I was saved. If you ignore the whole everyone I love is dead thing, Henry might actually be the luckiest idiot alive. He's garbage at survival, hygiene, fighting, and basic logic. But somehow, the universe just keeps stepping in to babysit his idiocy. He keeps rolling once, and somehow everyone else keeps rolling worse. Another time wound flashback hit me. I was supposed to save my parents, but the game got tired of watching me slap civilians and kicked me out of the dream. Teresa, Skalitz MVP, dragged my dumb corpse to safety. Teresa, I owe you my life. Just give me a moment and I'll turn you into Mother Teresa. Haha, I'm flirting. Apparently, I was passed out for 2 whole weeks, drifting in and out of coma like an old Windows screensaver. Teresa's uncle, the miller, paid for my medical bills. Time to repay that kindness with whatever the medieval version of unpaid internship is. I woke up in Rattay, and the real game could finally begin. From here on out, I could go wherever, do whatever, punch whoever. To settle my debt, the miller asked me to steal a ring from a deeply underground criminal. I acted like that was dishonorable and beneath me, despite having recently robbed pretzels from the Skalitz corpse buffet. On my way to town, a guard questioned me, but I told him I had information about the dragons. The armor set I was carrying was too heavy and conspicuous, so I sold it. Digging up the criminal revealed the guy didn't even have the ring. The executioner was my first suspect. I told him the miller owed him half a sack of grain due to miscalculation, just to see what would happen. He immediately sprinted off toward the mill, which was great, since I couldn't very well choke him out in front of his heckhounds. I emptied his pockets and his house. The ring had made its nest in there too. The miller became my fence. The executioner's belongings are now part of our family business. Speaking of whomst, the executioner wasn't super thrilled about my prank. For my next trick, I slept until night. Upon waking up, I was charged with a crime. No idea why. Ignoring that, I spent the night breaking into nearby houses, choked out everyone in my path to train my stealth, stole everything not nailed down, and fenced the loot before moving on to the next target. It was a great cardio circuit. You know that steroid type where immigrants increase the crime rate? I think in this case it's true, but it's 80% me. By the time I was done, I had 1.7k pretzel money. Next morning, I hit up the miller for some pickpocketing lessons, then I practiced lockpicking, which I hate more than life itself. The minigame feels like trying to perform surgery during an earthquake. From there, I stopped by the bathhouse to clean up my act. I robbed this place last night, so it felt good to give back. I haggled as hard as I could for the services. After that, I was forced to pay that random fine of 80 gold for that crime of something. Could have been any number of things, honestly. Later, I was galloping around the countryside looking for the horse ranch. Some cows got captured in my sights. Naturally, I chased them around the field, giggling and punching them until I leveled up my unarmed combat. At the horse dealership, I realized I only had about half the money needed for the best horse. With a new plan in mind, I fast switched back to town. Got groped by the guards, sold all my plants, slept next to a corpse in some moonshiner's hut, then snuck into a bandit camp under the cover of night, choked everyone out, stole all their gear, and checked their horse. Now the bandits are defenseless, pantless, and deeply confused, and once they rebuild, I'll be there to re-cripple them all over again. I love being the good guy. You can whistle to call your horse. Unfortunately, I didn't get the keys for this one, so no such luxury. Selling the bandit junk got me to 2.1k, still not enough. I'm so incompetent I get nervous going outside without a bicycle helmet. And then there's Henry's with the talents of an unplugged toaster. That's why I devoted an afternoon to the most noble of pursuits, using cows as punching bags. They were more or less unwilling participants to my training arc, but ultimately had no say in the matter. That's just the circle of life. Cows get punched, I get buff. Everyone loses. Utter destruction. Speaking of circles, my vitality bulked up too, since I ran around in loops while waiting for the cows to wake up. While doing this, I got this feeling that keeping the cows at the precipice of unconsciousness leveled my skills faster than punching them when they had more HP. I would have played some cheesy training montage music, but the music industry is so broke, it would crawl out of my monitor, shake me down for lunch money, then suplex me like a ketchup bottle clinging to its last drop. Scratch the talentless beat. I hit level 20 unarmed in just a few hours. All it took was dedication, determination, medication, and a complete disregard for bovine boundaries. Psych! Friend to the rescue! Here's a short montage. After taking one last look at my good work, I decided it was time to challenge the Rattay Fight Club. Finding them was actually harder than fighting them. Understandable, considering I've basically evolved into a Kingdom Come Super Saiyan. Milan, the reigning champ, couldn't handle me trying to tickle his brain with my fists. The next morning, Teresa refused to cook for me. Crushed by this betrayal, I set off grinding my unemployed molars to deliver a corpse ring, basically a shady friendship bracelet, to another miller. On the way, an old lady was cruising my way. I figured she was a speech stat opportunity. She figured I was a walk-in wallet and called her goobers out to mock me. My approach to fighting multiple opponents is sprinting like Olympic covered, then picking off the fastest one in a 1v1. Worked like a charm. I had to weather some blows though. Despite being high level, I still lacked what the scholars call basic experience. I turned the random encounter into a ransom encounter by demanding their weapons in exchange for their lives. The old lady got a piece of my mind too. She tried to escape by activating her amphibian subclass. She was fast like a wrinkled torpedo, clearly a water aerobics main. I kept up with the power of sheer petty rage. Oh no! Crap body. She will drown if I leave her. Left her unconscious body near a grave as a message and robbed her stuff. When I gave the ring to the new miller, he immediately eated it out the window like a moldy crouton, because it was worthless. He became my new fence, and happily took my latest trophies off of my hands, including the granny's regret lace lingerie. He didn't want to know why they were damp. Feeling professionally validated, I headed to Ledechko, north of Rattay, rented a bed at the tavern, napped until nightfall, then played finders keepers with the tailor's pockets next door. His chest was locked tighter than a nun's diary. Too hard for now, so I robbed the baker across the street for good measure, returned to my favorite miller, and was disappointed by how little money I made from my night of artisanal burglary. After that, I tried to practice defense with Milan, but Henry's brain refused to learn. Apparently, I need the main quest to unlock that neuron DLC, so I just opened a can of peasant-grade whoop-ass on the man with the hat I envy. The guards fondled me again. Trying to talk my way out of it only ruined my reputation further. Back at the horse dealership, I discovered thought there's a tier 5 horse. Though I was short on some coin, I haggled the price down with every ounce of brute charisma I had. And that's how I met Stupid the horse. Next goal, acquire funds to pimp my ride. Ye old edition. On my way to bother someone else, I ruined a wayfarer's day. Stopped to bully the bandits again. Yep. The same bandits. Trying my hand at dueling went pretty horribly thanks to the deceptive misalignment of the ground.
Pijme chlapci, bílé víno z pohára. Ještě si já,
He's still singing.
pohár vína zaplatím. Potom se já k moje milé navrátím.
I put them all to sleep and left them all in the mine of confusion. Sleep tight. Mwah. Next day, I dropped by the tailor to fix my outfit and bought a small tailoring kit so I can botch the job myself in the future. I mean, if I remember. With my skill level I can only repair things that are emotionally prepared to be healed. To progress the main quest, I crashed a noble dinner party like a court jester with a bad timing, and finally reported to Sir Radchik about his missing sword. He didn't really get why I was so obsessed with retrieving it. I played the sentimental card. A little brat in piss yellow jacket pitched in, accusing me of not soloing an entire invading army. Bold take from someone who thinks speeding counts as an argument. Sir Radchik allowed me to enter his service, and I got my membership to Jim Bernard. I cast that in immediately. Bernard taught me the basics again. I didn't do any damage with my sword this time either. I learned how to block, which is helpful, since I previously fought like a drunk scarecrow in a wind tunnel. Once we sparred, I shoved him into a corner and kept slapping him until his thirst for CTE was quenched. His brains dropped by to share some brain droppings, and I finally learned how to dodge. Then came the archery lesson. I could have missed every shot on purpose, but the targets don't have feelings, so it's fine. Still didn't manage to impress the captain. Sir Snadigus had more stupid to say. He challenged me to an archery contest, which I won. Somehow, Anzomain is all luck. He wasn't done losing. He challenged me to a sword duel. I pushed him into a corner and kept using my hand like sandpaper, trying to smooth things over. And his face. Earlier, I learned that hitting right on the D-pad equipped the bow, so I tried hitting left and... it worked. Sword was snugly back in its resting wrap. I started throwing hands. He blocked them all. Look at his face. He gave me his bow, possibly out of fear, and left with more than just his ego bruised. Finally, I reported to the bailiff to start my career as a town guard. Got my uniform, followed the nightingale around, almost got hit by terminal boredom. At the end of the shift, I tried to close down the tavern, but Sir Peastain was there to make my life harder again. Apparently he still hadn't learned his lesson. He challenged me again, this time without even a sword. I tried to drag the fight out for funsies, but he folded faster than a medieval brochure. Before things got more illegal, Sir Hanu stepped in. He made an excellent point about how deeply stupid I am for punching nobility in the mouth. If Radchik wasn't vouching for me, I'd be Henry on a stick right now. As punishment, I was sentenced on a bonding hunting trip with Mr. Peace's pants. I didn't even last 1 day on the job. My dad could probably power a watermill with his disappointment right now. Even an idiot like me knows more about how to behave at the presence of nobility in those times than he does, and he lives there! Before getting dragged off to my noble babysitting job, I had my eyes on something far more prestigious, the tournament prize. While giving into my inner raccoon, I accidentally discovered the other contestant's nap zone. After applying a bit of throat pressure therapy, I took the scenic route to the mill. You know, to avoid the guards and their surprise affection. I should stop making those kind of jokes about the guards. No use beating a dead horse, unless it owes me money. Anyway, their staff fetched many groschen and 0 questions. The first 2 rounds of the tournament were absolute comedy. Turns out, when you steal a man's armor, he shows up to battle looking like he just rolled out of bed. I had a permit for my left hand and was still applying for the right one. Didn't stop me from using both. Only the last guy, Black Peter, gave me trouble. He beat me once, which was super rude of him. He clearly hadn't read the script. I barely scraped through the redemption arc, but it was the best of 3, so I could afford the warm-up loss. Sir Hannus rewarded me with $400 and a pair of gauntlets that matched nothing I owned. I celebrated by hitting up the horse dealership and blowing all my cash on midlife crisis with legs. New spoilers and such, for maximum horsepower. The horse luckily already came with fuzzy dice included. On my way back to the mill, I came across a tree blocking the road. Classic. Some local ruffians thought they were clever. Even I knew what was coming, and I once lost a fight to a goose. I sprinted away like I left the oven on and the house on fire. Once they got bored, I started picking them off one by one. The first guy went down real easy. The second one abandoned surface life. The third one tried to act tough. But I have 2 perks that make enemies more scared of me than they are of taxes and surprise math. That's when I learned that punching people is faster than negotiation. Near the mill, Black Peter pulled a classic villain move, ambush for revenge. My screen did a weird spin as the fight began, which is never a good omen. I tried to lure him onto flat ground for round 2, but he clotheslined me off my horse with a rope trap. Clever little butt goblin. My screen gaslit me again. Teresa and the miller stood nearby, watching like it was a Renaissance UFC match. No help, no commentary, just vibes. But I managed to push Peter into the river. I used that chance to hide and heal, hoping to sleep my boo-boos away. The Fada Maka had poisoned his blade, because of course he did. Screw it, if he won't fight fair, I won't fight sane. After he woke up, I beat him up good, twice, then took him on a guided tour of the compost heap, thrashed him around some more, and baptized his head in the nearest outhouse. Fun fact, after messing around elsewhere for a bit, I found out he magically got his gear back, so I robbed him again. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, classified his items as stolen, for whatever reason. The guards confiscated the items from me, with a side of stern finger wagging. Wow, someone actually had stronger blood armor than me. I called BS and reloaded out of petty principle. After tormenting Peter Pan again, I sold his stuff immediately. Black Peter? More like stupid Peter. As an unarmed fighter, I need every edge I can get, since I, myself, possess no physical edges. Motivated by desperation and mild kleptomania, I picked up a Thieves Guild quest to fill the gap in my heart. If you've ever played Tenchu, Wrath of Heaven, Henry is slowly evolving into that game's physician/hitman hybrid. And if you don't think folding your enemies incorrectly, removing blood-pumping organs, or realigning their spines and vertebrae with bare hands is metal as heck, then get the frick out. Anyway, break time. I went on a stroll along the river with Teresa. It was calm, peaceful, dare I say, almost romantic, until she had the unmitigated gall to challenge me to a race. While she may have saved my life, that doesn't mean I'm gonna throw the match. No, freebies. Alright, back to business. Mission. Steal 5 Waffendrags from Talmberg. Because I can't read, canon, I spent a good chunk of the evening rummaging through Rat A for fancy get-ups that didn't exist. After I realized my mistake, I made the road trip toward the real operation zone, stopping every now and then to either admire the scenery or to practice my stealth and lockpicking. I could have probably been a little faster, but reading the map is also hard. By the time I reached Talmberg, the night had fully nighted. Inside the fort, a guard casually mentioned Lady Stephanie wanted to meet me. Ignoring any sense of etiquette or personal space, I Kool-Aid manned into her room, and she handed me a quest in her pajamas. She's very chill like that. The actual heist was stupidly simple, which explains why I floundered like a cop at a job interview. Step 1. Steal the keys from a guard. Step 2. Sneak into the storeroom. Step 3. Profit. Optionally, skip the keys if you're into hard locks and high blood pressure. Of course, I spent half an hour circling the courtyard like a medieval Roomba before I pieced together who the quest marker person was. Not willing to risk it, I fast traveled back, turned in the quest, and that increased the amount of money the fence had for trading, which was exactly what I was hoping for. Crime does pay, especially when you can't read the laws. Enough distractions. Main quest time. I met with Snotty Max Sword Envy. He politely told me to meet him in the morning like a normal person. Next morning, I apologized for being late by several days. Hans asked me if I had a horse, but cut me off before I could brag about my equestrian equivalent of a sports car. This is why I get the best horse in the game before this. I am just that petty. On the way to the hunting lodge, Hans admitted to being a bit of a sauerkraut. Respect. Self-awareness is the first step to being tolerable. He also pointed out that maybe, just maybe, trying to eject the Lord of the Land out of a bar wasn't the wisest career move. Can't argue with that either. He tried asking about Skalitz, but for the first time, it was too hard for Henry to talk about. So we sat in silence, which was kinda nice. Upon arrival, Henry kindly let me know that Teresa was ready for another walk. Thanks, intrusive thoughts. Great timing.
Bring me wine and bacon from the saddlebag.
From his saddleback, alright. He couldn't very well pick it himself. Yeah. Here you go, rich boy.
At long last.
He asked if I was enjoying the hunt. I pointed out we haven't yet hunted anything. He enlightened me that hunting's just an excuse to go outside and touch some medieval grass. Next morning, rabbit season. He proposed a friendly little competition. Naturally, I didn't hunt anything. I'm not allowed to do damage with a bow, and punching bunnies risks turning them into straight-up mittens. Instead, I use my Time Lord power to skip a few hours by holding my breath until the long blink. Hans inspected the void where my rabbit should have been.
It looks like we're as bad as each other.
Guess we both had a bad hair day, but Next day, hawk season. Henry explained boars are typically hunted with spears. Hans responded by shooting it with an arrow. The boar responded by not dying and running off like it had bills to pay. While sprinting after the pig, Hans accidentally intruded on a human social gathering. His horse took an arrow to the everything, and he gracefully headbutted a rock. According to my experience, there's two ways this could go. If your horse is bad enough to not keep up with Hans, the humans would have no idea you were there, and you can get the drop on them. While tactically retreating, I got my back shaved, twice, returned the favor with a head cracker. He went down like disturbed with sickness, found some natural cover behind a tree, which stopped the archer's next mistake. I returned fire and sent him hunting for post-concussion aspirin. There was a third guy in pajamas wandering the camp like a sleepy intern. I gave him a lesson about gravity. After romancing two chests open, I found a matching set of terrified humans. Told them they were free to go. Language barrier made it kinda awkward. Germanese is such a beautiful language. Sir Capone was relaxing in a bush, sipping trauma, watching me perform gentle, blunt force cranial therapy. He was amazed. I could have patched him up with my maxed out first aid, but that wasn't an option, so I let him marinate in pain while soldering his noble sogginess back to Rattay. Right as I got my pat on the back, word came in that my favorite horse dealership in Newhof got kneecapped by bandits. I offered them my help. Bernard wasn't too happy about the idea of having to babysit me, but that's his problem. Annus reluctantly agreed and offered me a downgrade horse. I accepted it, then ignored it like a gifted mug from a job I quit. Case file, The Ginger Gambit, by Henry, peasant PI of Nowhere Special. It all started on sun-blasted afternoon, the kind where the shadows get long and the horses get cheap. I was en route to the local equestrian shop. I breezed past the guards like they were background extras in someone else's story. They thought giving me a busted glue stick of a horse would humble me. Instead, I would take it at them so close they could hear my judgment. Long story short, bandits had dropped by like uninvited dinner guests and turned the joint into a glue factory. Horses, humans, hopes, dead, all dead. Captain Bernard, the kind of man who frowns for sport, told me I could help, as long as I didn't get in anyone's way. That was fair. I'm at my most effective when inconvenient. I canvassed the crime scene like a bloodhound with a hangover. Ask every survivor the who, the what, and occasionally the why. Got to break out my first aid skills too. Good impressions are everything. Out of all the trembling lips and twitchy stories, only one name kept coming up. Ginger. Spicy fellow. Suspiciously spicy. Bandits had apparently fled north, and Bernard sent me to investigate with a fellow named Ruda. The name alone smelled of backup disappointment. We followed a red trail of blood to a pair of bandits, one doing a great impression of a corpse, the other trying it out. Ruda said he'd keep the living one breathing while I fetched the captain. When I got back, surprise, surprise, the suspect had choked on his last lungful. I guess keeping him alive was open to interpretation. Found a hoof pick on the dead guy. It had Ginger's name all over it. He had just recently run off into the woods. That's suspicious, Captain Bernard agreed.
That is fucking suspicious.
Turns out Ginger had friends among the charcoal burners, the kind of crowd that likes trees more than people. I interrogated my way through a few of their camps, asking gentle questions with my fists firmly holstered. The trail of Q&A led me to a spokesman with a very kind face. I seduced him into making a deal with me, eliminate the bandits looking for Ginger, and he'd spill his secrets. Finding those bandits was like playing hide and seek with ghosts. I chased false leads, misread maps, and ignored clues so obvious they could have slapped me. Eventually, the dots connected, and so did the fists.
Thank heavens I found you, though. I imagine you two might be able to tell me something about Neuhof.
I see. Well, we can give you a little demonstration of what happened there.
Well, run! Then came the punching. While tactically retreating, I stumbled across a group of guards tangling with another gang of low-life scum. I joined the chaos. Problem solved by delegation and divine coincidence. Back at Charcoal HQ, Mr. Nice Face upheld his end of the bargain. Found a guy, trembling like a wet kitten. He told me he ran because he recognized one of the attackers. He wasn't guilty, just cursed with survival instincts. Fair enough. My next suspect was a guy with a limp in Usits. Ginger asked me to go back to the farm and smooth things over. I told him I'd try.
You'll definitely have their respect, the way you took care of those cutthroats.
Yeah, it's best if they don't know how I took care of them. Okay, enough pretending. I don't know how to narrate a detective novel. I base my attempt on what I happen to remember from hearing parodied in the distant past. As a consolation, I want you to know that I had a stupid smile cringing throughout the entire thing. On the way, I made a parked wagon that screamed ambush. I tried to circle around, do a little reverse Uno, but a bandit bounced like a theater kid with no sense of timing. And I lost my job by dying to him because he won the fight. Frick! After checking in with Bernard, I played medieval office politics with Zora to get Ginger reinstated. That night, I borrowed Zora's book of horsemanship, said hi, hit the road again, and stopped by the routine bandits to ensure the brain damage sticks. Oh. Mine. Back at the mill, I tried gifting some wine to Teresa. She wasn't impressed. But then I said the W-A-L-K word, and suddenly she dragged me to the tavern like I owed her something. Soup, ale, dancing against my will. Apparently to her, consent is just a village outside Skalitz. Some tavern thug got handsy with my girl. I presented an argument. He challenged me. Me, the prince of all peasants. 300 kick. He folded like a bad poker hand. I think Teresa enjoyed the date, but subtlety isn't my strong suit. Ew! I'll decipher her signals in 3 years tops.
Oh.
With romance somewhat settled, I headed to Usits to chase down a limpy suspect. Also figured I should learn to read, because illiteracy is only cute when you're 6. I decided to learn through osmosis. The scribe praised me as his brightest pupil. Somehow, everyone else just keeps rolling verse.
Thank you, Domine. I'm feeling a lot, wiser.
Wish he hadn't said that, because I found myself stuck between a wall and a roof the moment I stepped outside. At the Limpy lad's house, there was a crowd out front itching to see the town's new attraction, with Bailiff holding down the line. The guy definitely had a limp. He confessed, just not to me, dumped the whole plot on the priest instead. Naturally, I tried to be the confession out of the churchman myself, but he held his ground. Gutsy. Mad respect. After agreeing to talk more later, at the tavern, I raided his house for more reading material. At the bar, we bonded the only way true men do, through the sacred rite of slurred speech and spilled ale.
You looking for a fight? Henry, back me up.
Ah, bloody oath.
Well, I have to say that was a fine evening.
The priest woke up hangover enough to question the 10 Commandments and asked me to give the sermon in his stead. Naturally, I accepted. Might have butchered the intro, then screamed like I meant it. The crowd loved it. I got my next lead from the priest. The hangover came free of charge. That night, I got back to stealth training, seducing larks, sneaking around, politely applying pressure to people's throats until they passed out from excitement. Unfortunately, I was a little too excited and had to flee Usits like a spooked little rat man. No big deal. Still walked away with the perks I wanted. Dog person, so I can sneak around without setting off the medieval burglar alarms. And Et tu brute allows me to do more damage when driving a fist into the back of someone's skull. Next, I skulked around Rattay, illegally reading books, training my reading skill by committing literary crimes. No idea why, just felt like doing it, in case it helps later in the story. I returned the books afterward like a responsible delinquent. Fencing them wasn't worth the time investment. Then I made a huge mistake. I asked if the bailiff needed help. He did. Of course he did. He wanted to recruit workers from the Skalitz refugees. A cook, water carriers, and poop technicians. Teresa pulled rank and insisted her friend Antonia be one of the water carriers. Okay, sure, whatever you say. Oh, voice of the proletariat. Some guy stopped me with a sob story. Claimed the god stole his coin after catching him pickpocketing. Instead of playing Robin Hood, I gave him 50 groschen to go away. Cheap price to pay for peace and quiet. He rewarded me with another pickpocketing job. But I was already neck deep in another distraction, and couldn't be distracted from my distraction. Back to corporate hiring. I convinced a lady in the church to become a cook by lying and telling her that her previous employer died from a horse kick. A white little lie, and possibly also a prophecy. Once I wrangled everyone in front of the rat house, it was Judgment Day. Antonia got the water job. Her husband is sick, she needs medicine. I couldn't save him, but I could at least give her health insurance. Sort of. Vincent was quiet and didn't annoy me. Water. Big man had a history of screwing up everything. Poop duty. Cornelius had the swagger of a man who's never been told no, and the face of a guy who deserves it. Poop. The rock seemed chill. Water. Tonda. Name sounded like a car brand. Cool at first, but rubbed me wrong. Nothing. In the end, I had successfully delegated feces and hydration and no one died. Success, baby! I keep wanting to break into pros and cons rant about the game as they come up, but I'll hold back as hard as I can. Next, I took a course in alchemy. Got hyped to whip up some magical medieval chems, but got immediately stumped by my lack of belladonna. I've never seen that plant. It might as well be fictional. After a long, fruitless herb safari, I gave up and headed to Letepan's village to find Riki, my next suspect. Turns out he'd been drunkenly oversharing to his favorite bathhouse lady about some secret coin stash near his home. Naturally, I threatened his dad for details, dug up the stash, and lamented that I couldn't rebury it with some rotten egg payload. Missed opportunity for comedy terrorism. Bullying the innkeeper revealed that Riki could be hiding in one of the caves tucked away in nearby forests. Looking for the plot landed me in trouble with some bandits. I ran away until they lost interest, then snuck back, choked one out, and slapboxed the other into the dirt. Heading back, the same road landed me in the middle of a ruffian looting his victim. I knocked him out and took everything to myself. Circle of stupid continues. Same road. Same spot where I found the bandits. A lone human stood silly. I tried to circle around behind him, but when I got close, his psychic radar detected me. No big deal, I'll just beat him up, I thought. Turns out he had an entire party as backup, aiming bad news my way. I ran like I had 3 counts of tax fraud and a dead bishop in my trunk. Out of the 3 caves I checked, Riki was obviously in the last one. And on his deathbed, he gave me my next lead, Timmy, hiding at a windmill near Merhoyet. He begged for help, but that wasn't an option. Again, then begged me to end it for him. Not really my department, but I figured a little unconsciousness never hurt anybody. Apparently it does. He did. Riki too. Reloaded. I waited an hour instead, and he passed on his own terms. Painfully and slowly. Much better. On the way to the windmill, I heard a creepy, unnatural sound. As if the forest wasn't cursed enough, I followed the sound to the source. Turned out it was just a small watermill making serial killer noises. 10 out of 10. Would build one myself just to freak out future hikers. At the windmill, the night shift worker pointed me toward Timmy's sister. Trying to pick the lock next to their bed wasn't such a great idea. Why do bad things keep happening to me? Second try, actually talked to the sister. She told me to meet her behind the mill. Now that's just rude. It's getting on my nerves, not gonna lie. Eventually, Mirka told me where Timmy was hiding. Right then, some bandits showed up. One of them had a face made for punching. Predictably, they were also looking for Timmy. I lied and told them Timmy's in Rattay with his kin. They bought it, but left one of their guys to babysit me. Yeah, there's only one way this was gonna end. Sadly, there was no river nearby, so I just dumped the guy in some bushes like a sack of rotten potatoes. I tried to intercept the other bandits by predicting their route. Failed completely. Whatever, they'll get theirs eventually. Everybody's been hinting that Timmy's a bit slow in the head. That didn't turn out to be true at all. It was much worse. Still, he managed to tell me where the bandits were holed up. Some abandoned village north of Townburg or something. But before I could go punch a single bandit, I had to report to Sir Ratchik who had set up camp nearby. Pacify. Oh, very convenient. The guards greeted me by demanding a fine for the luck-related debauchery. Then they ransacked my pants and stole a bunch of valuables they definitely shouldn't have known were stolen. After snitching on the bandit camp, Sir Radzik slapped me with a scouting mission. Sneak in, count heads, maybe sabotage stuff, and try not to die. Finally feeling the urgency of Lady Stephanie's quest, I decided it was time to fetch the items for her cousin's wedding. Starting with the crown, I was only, what, a month late? Tops. That's still fashionable, right? Of course, nothing's ever easy. The crown was missing its jewel, and the merchant who was supposed to deliver it had turned into Studio Ghibli pork. I retraced his route backwards and found a forgotten wagon and some spilled strawberry jam on the ground. Or blood, probably blood, but it looked like jam, and I hadn't eaten yet, so let me cope. I shouldn't have licked it, tasted like pennies and dirt. Tracking the subtle clues led me to a couple of bandits. They had a sixth sense for detecting poor time management, but after waiting an hour in the bushes like a weird forest gremlin, half of them just vanished. Perfect. The merchant was there too, missing a soul, but present. The remaining bandit got his face exfoliated with my fists until he achieved inner peace. Then I gently tucked him into the river, hoping nature would reclaim what it rightfully never wanted in the first place. I coaxed the luck chest open and retrieved the missing jewel. This might be a AA game, but I got a AAA Bethesda-length loading screen. I stared into the void, wondering if I'd saved recently. Reminder, saving is not just optional, it's spiritual armor. Back in the workshop, the artisan said he'd need a day to finish the crown. Naturally, I bothered him every few hours like an impatient child at the bakery. To his credit, he didn't slap me with a hammer, and despite my hovering, he finished the crown on time. The real devil wasn't the one I recovered, it was his patience. My stealth skill seemed to fail me when it mattered the most, so I took a break from the important stuff and broke into all the farmhouses around Ratay. Knocked out everyone I came across like it was a sleepover gone wrong. I also took a moment to flip through my collected skill books. While heading out to pick some flowers, I crashed through a bush and into a fence like Captain Bohemia. Despite this majestic entrance, a nearby bandit didn't notice me. His friend was, however, very confused to see me approaching from the wrong direction. In the fields between Neuhof and Ratay, I finally found some belladonna, which allowed me to cook my own savior snaps. After that, I headed to my vacation hut, stuffed myself with as much alcohol as I could carry inside me, and paid a visit to my favorite group of punching bags. Perfect pickpocket dummies. My goal was to knock them out, give them stuff, then pickpocket it back. Good plan on paper, except I kept accidentally breaking necks. Rinse and reload. Tried again, more necks snapped. My own strength scares me. Things weren't working in my favor, so I moved on before I became a full-time chiropractor. Next, I tried raiding a human camp. The dog person perk didn't work, like, at all. I knocked out one idiot, boxed another. He gave up mid-fight, so I graciously hit knock out, which did a murder on him. Getting real tired of this crap. Human camp raid 2, the revenge. Before I could get started, I heard... Turns out another thief was on the scene, caught trying to swipe a few groschen. I pondered if I should let him go, give him a chance. Did I feel a spark of kinship? Nah, I beat the groschen out of him. At the camp, I saved first. Consider that lesson learned. A bunny frolicked right in the middle of the camp like he owned the place. The dog caused a fuss again. I managed to knock it out before it could tattle. The noise dragged the humans out of their cozy camp. I laid them out one by one, like autumn leaves, silent, sudden, and face down. The last guy was still roasting his shins at the fire like none of this had happened. I hope the fine folk of Ratay appreciated me grinding my bloody gear in the dead of night. Kept my favorite pieces of human armor in my horse's trunk for future disguises. Showed the rest, getting dangerously close to that 10k groschen milestone. After that, I paid for some hunting lessons, in order to unlock the Forester perk. Now I'm even sneakier in the woods. A leaf on the wind, a shadow among deer, a man who accidentally breaks spines for fun. There I was, distracted squared again. Back on track, Lady Stephanie's quest, cousin's wedding, fine wine from Ratay, go. Except no, the last keg of good wine had been handed out as a prize for tomorrow's archery competition. There are probably several ways to get it back, But come on, you already know what I did. Let's just say I'm too good at this. Last item on the list, a horse from Yupu. I was so happy I decided to sing to the beast. Whether he liked it or not, didn't matter. He couldn't stop me. Back at Lady Stephanie's bedroom, I handed her the shipment. She paid me with a second-hand shirt. No good deed goes unpunished. Then she wanted to trauma bond again. Told me of the misfortune with bearing children. So naturally, I decided to help her with that too. Emotionally? Spiritually? Biologically? You don't have to pick one. Time to prep for some hardcore reconnaissance. I bought a few potion recipes from the local pharmacy goblin. Realized I needed cave mushrooms for Nighthawk potion. Went to find some in the mine next to my favorite bandits, and created the potion. On my way to Talmberg, my scout senses tingled. Pilgrim spotted. A genuine article? I wasn't taking chances. Then on the same trip, another pilgrim. I'd seen this variant before. I KO'd 60% of the bandits in the bushes. The last one got a knuckle sandwich to go and sprinted into the woods. Third pilgrim? Things got suspicious. It all clicked when I saw the one that got away, and accidentally erased him from existence with knockout. The reload screen placed me back at the mushroom mine. I was pretty upset. Refusing to do that painfully slow yet immersive and fun alchemy again, I skipped the Nighthawk potion altogether on the grounds that I've been fine without one so far. That only bit me in the butt immediately. Getting your buttocks bit sounds like a pretty good time on paper. Just not when it's my old nemesis, the consequences of my actions. I'm also very ticklish, so that's not happening without a fight. To put it bluntly, after finding my way to the enemy camp, navigating in a rain so thick it turned the forest into a swamp, while the stars look down on my ass and it's so dark you can't even see your own hands, wasn't exactly my idea of fun. My mood sank so fast the ancient Greeks would write poems about it. Pretending to be a human without speaking a word of their language wasn't ideal either. Yeah. This segment could have been enjoyable if I had that Nighthawk potion. Or didn't decide to roleplay as a pacifist. Oh well, you saw what you brought with you. Still, after enough bumbling around, blind as a bat, I spiced one of their stew pots with a sleeping potion, and eventually fumbled together enough clues to vacate the joint. There was more I could have done, but after all the fail, I was so done. When delivering the news to Sir Ratkin, I was afraid I overestimated the amount of troops the enemy had, since for my next task, I had to ask for more troops from Sir Divis, who also phoned in more backup from Rattay. Oh boy, I couldn't have been more wrong. Not just because I sucked at staying alive, but because our troops just failed at trooping. Taking it easy wasn't an option. Tried using the Et to Brute perk, did less backstab damage than a stern email. I faceplanted into the game over screen multiple times. Before I remembered I was hoarding potions for moments exactly like this. Usually, I just carried the rainy day fund until the end of the game. So I chucked all the fun juice, Psycho, Medex, Alchemical Fruit Punch. Even then, it was a hell slug. But if there's one thing I'm good at, it's banging my head against the wall until the wall taps out. My prize? Remember that charming little meathead who curb-stomped us back in Skalitz? Yep, that idiot. I finally got to fight him. Now I know this was supposed to be a boss fight, and technically, it still was. Just not for me. I jammed my fist so far into his outgoing mailbox, I could work his mouth like a sock puppet. Unfortunately, he woke up before I could test my kick him out the window theory. He faced a couple of more knee kicks before his brain disconnected from the server. My cutscene self saw things very differently, but luckily he had the good sense not to do any damage with the sword. Voldemort just couldn't stop hitting himself. That's how he enrolled himself into the Afterlife Special ED University. My conscience was still squeaky clean. Pestering Teresa again, I asked if she wanted to do something together. Apparently I was too late, so I gave her a ring. She took that much better than the wine. From 5ish AM onward, I kept bothering her. Once an hour, like a hungry cat. Eventually we played a game in the barn. She was blindfolded, trying to echolocate me. I, of course, played to win. Out of boredom, I tried to give her a clue. She didn't hear that, but my horse sure did. Then we saved some laundry from the rain that was neatly folded out to dry on the ground. Soaked and cold from the rain, we decided to keep each other warm with body heat. I made my best attempt to finally give her that mother prefix. Whether I succeeded is between me, her and the horse. Later in medieval adventures, I still didn't get to sit down. Mehoyet got raided by bandits, and there's fake money going around. Regular Tuesday stuff. On the upside, the peasants held their ground and captured one of the bandits. Of course, Nothing's ever simple. As a bonus, there's a plague. Inside the collection of sad huts and leaky villagers, questioning the first guy revealed that the sickness jumped from animals to humans, which immediately told me it was poisoning. Diseases don't normally just wipe between species unless you seriously piss off God. While poking the patients for symptoms, an angry old man decided to give me some feedback. A quick cranial massage helped him relax, free of charge. One guy was so convinced he's dying, he made me write his will, then asked me to deliver it to a priest. He's such a ray of sunshine. The captured bandit was locked in a barn. They wouldn't let me near him until I fixed the whole dying town thing. But that didn't stop me. He was sick like the rest, so my options were cure the village or beat the information out of a dying man, which I think is illegal, even in 1403. So I teamed up with Johanka the war nurse and brother Nicodemus, the monk of guesswork in Sasau. The medieval WebMD confirmed it was poison. I cooked up the cure, headed back to Merhoyed, turned back because I thought it wouldn't hurt to have a little extra. Not like this was time sensitive or anything. The 2 extra vials I brewed were worth exactly their weight in experience points and nothing else. Back at the site of sickenings, I used the cure to plug the leaking holes. The bandit survived his medieval Taco Bell dysentery and immediately spilled his beans. Turns out, this wasn't some random raid. There's a whole organized group of bastards, funded, trained, and surprisingly competent, which is hilarious because up until now, every bandit I've met has risked dying tripping over their own sword. The angry old man came back, trying to stab my prisoner. Clearly the first message didn't stick. I handed in my midterm report to Sir Ratchik. He patted me on the back like I'm a blood puppy and sent me off to track my next clue. Pretty sure he's considering adopting me. The plague bandit was supposed to meet up with a merchant named Menhart to help circulate the counterfeit money. Of course, nothing's ever simple. The meeting point had an air of total failure. I followed the trail of blood to a nearby camp where I began interrogations. Excuse me. Do you happen to know anything? Do you want styrofoam? The breadcrumbs led me to a shack, where I grilled a wounded mercenary for info. Meanwhile, outside, an unknown knight caused a ruckus. I tried to confront him, but he revved his engine and took off. Couldn't keep up with him the first time, but I decided that's not canon. Round 2, I got up to him and spent 12 glorious minutes getting my ass handed to me by a guy wrapped in boomer privilege. His assets just radiating that generational wealth. Yeah, I died. Round 3, I pulled him off his horse, tried to lure him away for shenanigans, but he wouldn't bite. The chase looked something like this because I couldn't pull him down again. That is, until I got him stuck against the fence. His horse decided his part was done and noped out. Bye, horse! I kept the guy running until he forgot I existed. He had diplomatic immunity to chokeholds. I challenged him again, tried to get him to fight the nearby bad lads, but they just teamed up and hacked me into pizza toppings. Round 4, I skipped the nonsense. Even I knew when it's too many sequels. Went straight to an inn in Sasau where he was chilling. Joined him, agreed to meet him behind a pond, failed a speech check, and the fight was back on. At this point, I wasn't even trying. Couldn't pickpocket the info I needed, but I did rob him blind for all his loose chains, and whacked him for good measure before running away again. Out of options, I choosed up on every chem I owned. It didn't go any better at first, until I remembered one important strategy: corner cheese. I ground his face into fine powder. Yes! So his name is Ulrich, we were investigating the same thing the whole time, and we are on the same side. The big dumb idiot just jumped to conclusions faster than Xitter comment section. I spared him, and even agreed to work with him, because I'm a super duper nice monk type guy. Friendship is magic. Oh, hello, how you doing? Yeah, did you like what you saw, huh?
What is it you want here?
Pay me next time. Before moving on, I detoured a bit to help Johanka with some patients. Made a sleeping potion, set a bone back in place. Ran out of bandages for the last guy, but hey, I'll loot some eventually. 2 of the 3 stooges from Skalitz were loitering at the inn nearby. They needed work, so I did what any responsible adult would do. Pawned them off on a miller in Ledetsko. Because asking them to find a job by themselves would be like handing a rake to a pig. Actually scratch that, pigs are smart. After that, I delivered some intel from Ulrich to a dude in Ratay. That's when we figured out 2 things. The counterfeit coins were coming from Sasau, and they were spicing them up with quicksilver, because apparently mercury poisoning is the new black. Following the smell of poor life choices surrounding the forges in Sasau, I found a shady blacksmith. He wasn't too keen on talking at first, until I beat up his son. Then he suddenly remembered everything. Weird how that works. He also tried to offer me some side work, but I was done getting distracted. For now. I tipped off Ulrich about where the fake coins were switching hands. He connected the dots and let me know that the painter was complaining about the lack of quicksilver. Then he went off to do spy things, while I got the fun job, sneaking into the monastery to find out who's running the holy counterfeiting ring. The fresco master at the inn also casually mentioned that the monastery stopped handing out their quicksilver shipments, which was bad news for red paint. After night hit, I broke in, quiet, careful, professional. Until I wasn't. I started reading every book I found like it was medieval Reddit. Couldn't stop, wouldn't stop. Along the way, I choked out everyone sleeping, pocketed every key I could find, and looted every locked box that had the audacity to hide things from me. At one point, I found a key to the forbidden books section. I thought I was about to uncover ancient secrets. Turns out it was just a cabinet. You could open it, you could close it. That was it. Got paused like a smurf here. The library itself was massive, like a candy store for reading experience. Of course, I overstayed my welcome. Luckily, the guards couldn't catch me in the act. By the time I finally snuck out, it was morning. I completely lost myself in my curiosity. And the best part, I didn't even find what I was looking for. A resounding success. Back in square one, I grilled the overseer's assistant for information. 2 names came up, Sir Jezek and Rapota. Next, I stopped to pay my fine. Thanks to 2 magistrate perks from all my furious bedtime reading, I could now seduce the guards with the sheer power of literacy. Who knew books could be useful for more than improvised weapons? After trading my intel to the rat day dude, I got my next crumb of the conspiracy pie. I checked in with our old buddy, the Saint of Patience. He pointed me toward his greatest disappointment, his apprentice. I also squeezed more dirt from the bathhouse harpy. Laura the apprentice coughed up a confession after a little sweet talking. Turns out his bathhouse girlfriend got abducted, and he was politely encouraged to make punch dice for the counterfeit coins. Naturally, I agreed to save his girl, Esther, from the raiders. At the idiot camp, I turned off their consciousness settings silently, liberated them from their worldly possessions, and drooled on the captive's pillow. Yeah, I'm gonna sleep. Then I set her free. Priorities. With Estra safe, Lawrence spilled his end of the bargain. Apparently Rapota was hovering around to babysit him. So I set up a counter stakeout. Felt like a real private eye. Deeply immersed, I tried to be as professional as I could. Is that Rapota? Could she be? I'm going to confront her. You! Can't even talk to you. I guess it's not her. Is that Rapota? Is that Rapota? Is this my man? Now are you Rapota? Here we go. Got it. The guy couldn't handle my hard-boiled dick crazy energy. He tried to outrun the long shaft of the law. Our epic chase scene ended when I slapped his rear bumper like a cop car. He immediately folded into a confessional pancake. Being the genuine good guy article that I am, I let him go. Second chances and all that.
Ah, you're not worth tainting my sword with your blood. Now get lost before I change my mind.
High and mighty answer. Even though I don't use a sword. Alright, bye-bye. Before I change my mind, I won't, but don't tell him that. After that, I met with Ulrich to plan the raid on the forgery and asked him for backup.
I will be glad to give it. Lead on.
I'd much rather he leads. Why would I lead? I'm useless. Where are we? Did you... Did he choke me out and carry me here? Ulrich's bold and innovative strategy of running straight into enemies, arms down, and let them tee off on him like a birthday piñata didn't leave any room in his life for living. Grandpa, help! Oh no, are you dead? I think he's dead. Thanks to a weird feeling I had, I didn't rob his corpse. Nobody? Your mom? Overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer. I should have come alone. But somehow, I still managed to corner the head honcho and diplomance him into surrendering without a single punch. Gotta admit, if they had weapons, my face would probably be a wall ornament right now. What Jezek told us next implicated the church even further. Also, there's a gang in Sasau quietly building an army. The Radzik doesn't have the authority to go against the church, which means, guess what? It's up to me. To get recruited by the raider gang, I cast in a favor from a guy whose leg I once healed. Very forward guy. You heal my leg, I heal your leg. You know how it is. The goobers gave me an initiation test. Turn a novice monk 50 shades of expired inside the monastery and take his dice as proof. No big deal, it's just the most heavily guarded place in the entire province. The dude seemed a little slow, but he was a good idea machine for how to do it. I had some options, but I went with the self-fulfilling prophecy, becoming a monk, using a nobleman's wreath, and a level of confidence usually reserved for drunk karaoke singers. Problem? To enter, you had to surrender all your worldly possessions. Solution? I was one step ahead of this old fart. My stuff was already stashed with my favorite miller. I'm not giving up anything for free. My monastery initiation went about as well as expected.
Dear brother, forget your former life
Done.
and embrace.
In loquium tuum vivam.
I read all those books for nothing.
Non confundas me ab expectatione me.
He's suffering as much as I am. I don't deal well with second-hand cringe. I hadn't been a monk for 10 minutes yet, but I had already choked someone, threatened another one, found a way to get lockpicks, and I located my prime suspect. Truly, I'm God's strongest soldier. I'm just gonna say it now. This whole academia saga unraveled over 4 hours of my mortal coil. And why? Because I made the inspired decision to choke the tour guide immediately, instead of, oh I don't know, following him around, or just telling him I didn't need a babysitter. Naturally, the only logical next step was to begin strangling every novice, looking for an artifact I didn't earn as proof for a murder I didn't commit. At night, I snuck out to get my stuff back, on principle. Also, I wanted my lockpick back, and whatever valuables Old Man Withers had tucked away in his loincloth. Oh, and my rite of passage. For my scrapbook, the monastery was supposed to be on lockdown to stop novices from escaping. Too bad I stole every key before entering. I could go anywhere I pleased like a second-hand locksmith. Knocking out Lucas on the way to the morning chanting lessons got me frowned upon, and ejected like a heretical football. But that version is not canon. We don't talk about Universe B. Despite my divine speedrun of Dumb Diddly, I still figured out who the target was. It wasn't even my first suspect. Apparently, you can't safely choke the right guy after skipping the tour. And because I skipped said tour, my guy entered a state of quantum monastic limbo, spending entire days oscillating between eating soup and napping like a depressed house elf. I got trapped in a nightmarish state of softlock. Nobody cared what I did. I couldn't complete chores. I couldn't accuse my sassipaga. I had all the evidence, but no way to weaponize it. Over 2 hours in, I finally did the mature thing. I used the time turner, and instead of ruining everything, I taught Antonius to piss offus maximus, like a civilized cleric. This time, I actually needed to attend things, like the potion class and the ancient runes lecture.
You call that a copy? You've completely ruined the parchment with your scribbling.
That one was fun. Of course, I didn't miss my chance to get some books on the unforgivable curses and the unthinkable potions. If I missed class or wandered into the wrong room, the Dementors would reprimand me and possibly ground me in the toilet, committing violence or carrying weapons. Also got me the Expelliarmus. Eventually, I gathered enough evidence, again, pinned the tail on the basilisk, and somehow ended up helping him fake his death, so we could both escape this cloistered chamber of boredom. One stage murder and a splash of theatrical ketchup later. We were out, thanks to the keys I forgot to return. Freedom tasted good. Goodbye, very what? Suck it, Voldemort. After returning to Rathei and reclaiming my stuff, I had to cross a swamp to reach the Raider Gang meeting spot. Oh, my shoes are wet, I hate this. Why did I agree to come here? My hat, which I love, worked great for my sneaky look. Anyway, the gang. They bought my story and just like that, I joined their motley crew. Before hitting the camp, I checked in with Sir Radzik about my infiltrational aspirations.
That's out of the question. It's too risky.
What? Now it's too risky? Bro!
Sire, compared to everything I went through to get this, it will be child's play. I already passed their test, they trust me.
Yeah, Henry said the same thing I was thinking. At the Raiders' Fort of Ifications, trademark, I handed my pass to the bridge troll, exercised my right to free speech practice around the camp, and seasoned their stew pot with equal parts moonshine and naptime juice. What could possibly go wrong? After napping and nabbing some valuables from a chest, I thought I got caught because everyone suddenly attacked. They weren't using weapons though, so I figured it was some sort of beginner's plugin. I didn't sign up for this dance. I had fun and beat up as many of them as I could. Here with your A game, losers! Somebody check the clock because I believe it's go time.
Not only strong out.
I'm still doing my scouting, I'm a professional, you see. Is it possible to beat all of them? I'm going with a no. It wasn't beginner's plugin. They strung me from the ceiling like a discount punching bag and used me like one. This asshat revealed that they'll be keeping me for a ransom. Who is this buttmunch anyway? Sir uses a loincloth for a hat in all his overconfidence. Proceeded to tell me his entire evil plan, like all good little Saturday morning cartoon villains do. The pride meeting disbanded, one guy stayed behind. He kept pounding me. I think it awakened something in me.
Henry, wake up. Can you hear me? Jesus, that brutally works you over.
Now hello, who's this? This is only the second worst beating I've ever had. Oh, it's the Green Goblin! In short, he's tired of the bandit life. If I help him get back on his feet outside, he'll help me escape from the inside. We shook on it. New besties! Remember that smug little boob stain from the earlier cutscene? Yeah, I robbed him blind. His office leaned out, even got my own gear back. Sneaking is the one talent I have, so getting out wasn't anything too difficult. Just wait for your chance. Ignore all the obvious looking exits and go for the one that looks like it could fit a motorcycle through it. I met with Green Goblin outside and did not tell him I had a horse. Let him carry me back to Rattay with the occasional pep talk. This is what it takes for Henry to feel cared for and loved. Back in Rattay, I suddenly suggested that Sir Radchik adopt me.
Father?
I told you he had balls.
No more, my lord. I'm your father.
Ah, it worked. I handed over all the juicy intel, had Green Goblin rewarded for breaking me out, and then took the nap of a lifetime. Oh no. Why are you pricks looking at me like that? Oh. You know what? I don't feel like dealing with you today. I'm like a prince. I don't need to. Okay, fine. No! Social activity! We gathered some troops, marched to the fortifications, prepared for battle. I smacked some folks in the back of their heads like a good little gremlin. And we took the fort. Meanwhile, Toilet Paper Head reached his way inside Fort Thornburg and made it his nest. Naturally, we followed suit. Time for another battle. Ooh, hello. They really hate my guts, don't they? Somehow, my new papa got taken hostage, along with Lady Stephanie, even though he rode in with us. Okay then, Sir Hanus, my favorite character by the way, suggested we knock the castle down, but Sir Robot said we better do a ninja mission first. Sir Capone joined the crew. He's actually a really fun guy if you befriend him. Sadly, I didn't, but he sure acted like I did. First step was to scale the walls with some ladders. I entered cryptobiosis just to survive the boredom, because I had to do this a few times before I even got past the first set of guards. After that, I snuffed out the courtyard guards, checked the stables. Our targets weren't in there, so we gave up, and Lord Cabon earned himself a new party story tattooed on his butt cheek. I picked up the noble pincushion and carried him out. With no better plan, we decided to build a trebuchet. Only speed bump? The mining engineer doesn't quite have the moxie for that. So I talked to the guy, and of course, we have to find another engineer. Guess where? Sasau Monastery. Great, we're going back there again. There are issues all over the camps too. We need more meat, more beer, caffeine potions, a young priest and an old priest. There you are! Do you wanna be drawn like your average French maid? He distracted me in the middle of my joke, and he ruined it. I'm not going to forgive him. Oh yeah, he also needs pitch. Meeting adjourned. Add that to the shopping list. The game took an interesting turn here. It became Kingdom Come delivery service. Busy work galore. Stuff that anyone else could have handled. The upside? You get to cash in those favors if you've helped people around. I did the bare minimum. For the beer, I just intimidated an innkeeper into submission. Mr. Niceface was delighted to see me again, and more than happy to help me with the pitch.
Welcome, Prince of Darkness.
Some witches summoned me into a forest at night. We partied hard. I became a pig for a while, drew a dice to decide which animal to, brolic with. Then boxed with some demons. Don't ask. Later, I convinced insert name here Bigwig to hold a banquet for the sick and poor. Brother Nicocado joined as our young priest. Of course, nothing's ever simple. Just to recruit the engineer guy, I had to rob a foremaster, then buy the engineer's contract from him for a few days with 2k groschen and ward off evil spirits. After that, I used the would-be assassin's unconscious body like molding clay, posing him like an interpretive art exhibit. Next, I eated myself through some butchers to get 200 meat for the camps, dropped it off, and got to witness Conrad the engineer absolutely cream himself over rockets while planning the trebuchet. Thanks! I tried getting the old priest to help, but he wasn't having it. No quest to fix the situation. I guess this is him paying me back for the beating I gave him earlier. Since the map was being difficult and wouldn't show me where the potion makers were, I beat the big one, and started brewing them myself in Rathay. In the early hours, a god suddenly crashed in. Fined me for not using a torch. I also tipped him, because I'm polite, even when livid. Later, I switched to Sasau for potion brewing, just so I could listen to that one insomniac moan on loop.
I just can't.
Stop screaming, I'm trying to work here. Back at camp, I handed Captain Goat his caffeine pills.
Surrender! You'll have to answer for your law-breaking. What the hell do you think you're doing, hurting people like that?
Eventually, we fired the trebuchet for the first time. Still needed calibration. Then, plot twist, some adversarial reinforcements were heading our way to bite us in the butt. I got to lead the Skalitzmen from a flanking position. It was a cool fight. My biggest gripe, I can't drink potions when those two swords appear at the top to say, no sippy. And I'm in combat. So you need to be a pre-gaming master. Problem is, the potions barely last a few minutes, so timing's a pain. Thankfully, there are little breathers between fights where you can jog. Me running out of potions from bad planning, I will now gaslight the game into taking the blame. Somehow. After the slapfest ended, we captured their commander, Eric. Apparently, he's the toilet paper hat's boyfriend, brother or both. I don't judge. One of the crusty old goats then runs in, yelling about trebuchet danger. We skip back, fight the enemies, and the damage wasn't too bad. Victory. Mostly unearned, but I'll take it. A few days later, I got to watch the boys reload the trebuchet. That was cool. Unfortunately, I couldn't launch myself from it. Apparently, I was supposed to fire the first shot. Problem is, I don't use weapons. So I punched it. And it worked. For the record, I wasn't allowed to weasel out of using this weapon of war. Couldn't delegate it to Captain Old Goat either. But if I attacked it and it happened to fire on its own, that's not my fault. That's physics. After some calibrations, we fired it again. And our chief nerd sniped the gatehouse perfectly. Dude, no way! What a freaking shot! Then came the final assault. We lathered up the walls like oversized termites. I was stopped out of my skull on potions, and that was when my supply ran dry. My men also ran out of motivation, so it was all up to me. The fight wasn't hard, just long. I used one of the old goats as bait to thank for time, while I failed with immaculate form at everything I attempted. Since I couldn't kill, the folks I knocked out came back, unarmed and probably annoyed, because yes, I confiscated their weapons, and sometimes the armor too. Luckily, my aggro dummy was covered in essential oils. Eventually, I stormed the courtyard with Captain Bernard, picked one unlucky soldier as my target, and shoved him into the horse stables. Your end is nigh! The game also sometimes locks away my fists, and shows an X in the crosshair thingy. It's the game's way of making me less OP. Quit horsing around! Before I could finish my maraca solo, a cutscene hijacked me. We won the battle, exchanged prisoners, and agreed to let Loincloth Brain walk away like a bad smell on the wind. I got my foster papa back. That night, my real father appeared in a dream. Meanwhile, Johanka burned at the stake in the subtitles. Then me and Lord Capone rode into the sunset, and I beat Kingdom Come delivery service with only my fists, and without killing a single soul. Got an achievement for it too. And that's it for this time, folks. This was harder than I thought. Also took way too long to make the video. Next, something shorter, hopefully. Let me know if you want more KCD or maybe the sequel sometime soon. Do the engagement things to help me out. Tell me in the comments what I could have done better or if you have other challenges/games for me to play. Thanks for watching, see you next time, take care now, bye bye then.